Hello and good afternoon. My name is Jose Avalos, and this is my diversity training presentation on Mexican American culture. In this first slide is an overview about what I will be going over throughout this presentation. I'll be going over the cultural backgrounds of Mexican American, the population data, what cultural values they hold, some positive and negative stereotypes that are attributed to them, how they communicate in the workplace, what kind of culture they have in the workplace, as well as some interpersonal strategies and skills that might help you when interacting with them. When it comes to cultural background, Mexicans first immigrated over to America in 1848, and this has been a continuous trend up until present day. There have been many reasons as to why they migrated over here to America, some including violence, corrupt government, poverty, but the main reason as to why most Mexican families do immigrate over here to America is due to economic instability and the fact that they want to provide a better life for their families. While Mexican Americans are spread out throughout the entire United States, the large portion of the population can be found near the US Mexico border, specifically near Texas, California, Arizona, and New Mexico. In terms of population data, this picture to the left shows the population in Texas from 2010, 2018, and then it shows the difference. As you can see, the Hispanic population has grown very large since 2010, with almost 2 million new residents. As far as the U.S. population goes, there are around 36 million total Mexican Americans, or at least people who identify as Mexican American in the United States. And in Texas, there's over 11 million people who identify as Mexican American. In this next slide, I'll be discussing the cultural values. When it comes to cultural values, it's split between traditional and mainstream. The traditional Mexican American values is that as a familyism, where family is very important to Mexicans, and it's above the individual. And then also religion. The primary religion in Mexican American culture is Roman Catholicism. That is true in both Mexican American culture and in Mexican culture. They also believe in traditional gender roles. Like they believe that a man is supposed to be the worker and provider of the household. Women are supposed to be more of a caretaker, making sure the house is in tip top shape, and that children are children. They don't do anything outside of being children. Another traditional culture value that they hold is respect. Respect is very, very important. They believe in showing respect to others and establishing yourself as a respectful person. But as times have gone by and we moved into newer eras, there have been more mainstream values that have taken prominence, specifically independence slash self-reliance. Normally in traditional Mexican values, it's all about the family, it's all about the group, but you're starting to see more individual Mexican Americans focusing on themselves, wanting to compete more and focus on their individual goals. And that goes into the second mainstream culture value, which is competition and personal achievement. Like I said earlier, it's a new era where more Mexican Americans are focusing on themselves and their personal benefits. And now I'll be moving on to this next slide where I'll be discussing the positive and negative stereotypes. When it comes to positive stereotypes, Mexicans are viewed as hardworking, which is true. They are viewed as family oriented, which is, I can speak from experience, is very true. The family is very important to Mexican Americans, and they are very welcoming. I know that there's bad apples in every culture, but when it comes to Mexican Americans, yeah, there are some, but they're for the most part are very welcoming, very kind, and they really like to interact with people. But some negative stereotypes, a lot of these are very old, are that they are simple-minded. In the 1970s, a study was done that tried to prove that Mexicans were slightly dumber than white people due to genetics, which is simply just not true. When it comes to masculinity in Mexican American men, it can be viewed as dominant and violent, which attributes to the reason why some Mexican American men are viewed as very violent and criminal, which is again not true to all of them. Some of them are portrayed as newly arrived. That's a stereotype that many people feel like, oh, when they see a Mexican American, they feel like, oh, they're new here, they get used to everything, which is not true. Many Mexican Americans are second or third generation, and have been here for a long time. And another one that's negative is the fact that women are viewed as caretakers and they don't work traditional jobs, which is becoming more and more, which is becoming less true as times go on because women are starting to become more prominent in the workplace. They're beginning to take more part in the economy. Now, in this next slide, we're moving on to the communication in the workplace. As far as the style that Mexican Americans use, it's very expressive and emotional. They love to be passionate about when they're speaking to each other. As far as interruptions go, it's very common for Mexican Americans to interrupt each other when they speak. It's not a negative thing, it's just the fact that they're so passionate when they're speaking that they overlap. It's very common for them to touch each other on their wrists, arms, give pats on the back. One thing that is not viewed very positively is long silences. It can make the mood feel very uncomfortable. And also, they don't speak very directly to people. They're very indirect communicators. They don't give direct refusals or give information very bluntly. They view that as very impolite. Next, I'll be talking about the culture in the workplace. They're very strong. They have a very strong work ethic. They don't like to take vacations. They don't expect vacations either. They like to use their lunchtime, even if it is late or long, to socialize. They like to gather and talk and have a good time with their coworkers and just be very group oriented and be a bit positive. For most Mexican Americans, the workday is never ending, which I mean in America is not true, like 9 to 5 jobs, but to them they take work very seriously. They love working, and they're very polite when it comes to email jargon. Like the U.S. Email jargon is very polite in general, but they take it to a whole nother level. Next, I'll be talking about some interpersonal strategies and skills. Some things that you might want to do is express emotion when you're communicating with the Mexican American. It just shows that you care. It shows that you're interested in speaking with them. Another thing is you want to show respect. That they don't take politely to disrespect. You want to be welcoming as well. And some things that you don't want to do is you don't want to act like you're more intelligent. You don't want to assume they're new to this country. You don't want to let there be long silences. You don't want to address someone by their first name until they've invited you to. And finally, this is to recap what we talked about. We talked about cultural background, the population data, cultural values, stereotypes, workplace communication, work culture, and personal strategies and skills. This is my references. Thank you.